Yeah, I know that this isn't Fossil Fighters Champions, but don't worry, it is on the way. But before that, I gotta talk about a game that at one point in time was one of my most anticipated games ever, and how now it's old as dirt. 2014, I was just a wee lad playing on his Wii U and just having a grand old time. But then came a problem. There was no games. I mean, most of what was there was fire, but it was like a dull flame surrounded by... You know, I've been cussing too much in these videos, so how about we just move on? But one day, this little lad watched a video by one of his favorite YouTubers that talked about a brand new game that caught the little lad's imagination. Freedom Planet. It was cool, colorful, action-packed, beautiful music, witty girl talk, and bloody torture! It was incredible. And that old YouTuber made such a wonderful video about it. That's also now old as dirt. Hey, don't at me, at God. I went straight for my Wii U to download the game, but they only had the demo available. So my little hands vigorously played that demo over and over and over till the game of the century was released. And it was pretty good, what can I say? Freedom Planet, a Sonic fan game turned indie legend that's getting a sequel pretty soon, and I'm very excited for it. So to spread my excitement, let's go over the original game. From what I just mentioned about the Sonic fan game stuff, you can probably guess that yes, Freedom Planet is a 2D platformer that emphasizes on the speed and multiple characters. But what you might not expect is the murder and political drama. Actually, I think that's also in Sonic pretty often. Actually, that's probably a good place to start. On the titular Freedom Planet, there's a gem called the Kingdom Stone that contains a ton of energy. And one day a warlord from space named Brevin wants that energy for himself. So he heads down to the planet, kills one of the planet's 3 kings, and uses his son as a puppet to wage war and try and steal the stone. However, another man, or some kind of duck turtle thing, named Torque, comes from space to try and stop Brevin. His first attempt fails pretty hard as he loses all of his crew and he crashes down on the planet. But before he's eaten by Brevin's forces, a dragon named Lilac and a wildcat named Carol come to his aid. And eventually they, alongside a stray named Mila, come together to form Torque's his new crew, as the 4 head off to foil Brevin's evil schemes and deal with the political drama between the 3 kingdoms. The story of Freedom Planet is pretty decent. I don't really have that many issues with the plot, except that it kind of feels like it skims over a few things. And I'm not saying I want full biographies for every character we meet, though I am curious as to why Lilac and the other dragons aren't the same. Though I do think that's the plot for this new game. But some of the things like Torque's crew, Mila's missing parents, or Carol and Lilac's time as ninjas are just kind of things that seem really important, but they're just not really all that explored. And this is a pretty cutscene heavy game, so I think some time could have been spent on more stuff like that. Though, then again, it's not really all that much of an issue, it just kind of feels like that stuff was just cut out of the game, you know? I mean, our intro to Carol and Lilac is just them messing around in the field somewhere, when they see Torque's ship crash, and then we get a quick conversation setting up their personalities, and then they run off to save him. I guess at the end of the day, that's all that's really important, but the game teases us with some more information and that's it. It just teases us about it. I don't know, maybe it's for a sequel or something, but it just kind of feels weird. The character work though is really fun, and everyone feels pretty fleshed out and they're all entertaining. And that's all down to the writing and the voice acting, which is all really good. Everyone here gives it their all, and though there is an audio flub every once in a while, the voice acting is just fantastic, and it really helps each character come alive, which is impressive for an indie game that was released at that time. And the writing at first seems to be all over the place in tone, though I think that was just to help emphasize the contrast of our child protagonists and the very adult world they're throwing themselves into. The characters, they're all amazing, and it's probably impossible to leave this game without having a favorite or two. Mine's obviously the bird guard. He has such a way with words. But the world in this just isn't the same without the amazing detail in the sprites and animations. Every character has their little quirks or their funny reactions, and the levels themselves are just so vibrant it hurts. But in a good way. And this music is just beautiful. Like, honestly, I don't have the music chops to describe it, so just listen for yourself. But let's get into the real meat of this game, the 2D action-packed platforming. Freedom Planet is a fast-paced 2D platformer where Lilac and friends use a variety of techniques and powers to combat enemies while trying to beat the stage as fast as possible, or to look around for these little cards that unlock concept art, music, voice clips, and more, while also earning an achievement once in a while. Lilac is a dragon and the fastest of the bunch. She can use her hair tail things to spin around in the air and has a variety of different punches and kicks she can perform. And she has a dragon dash, which allows her to zoom off into 6 directions. Not sure why they stopped at 6, but hey, it's really all you need. Though I do wish that maybe her spin didn't use some of that dash bar. It charges pretty slow as is, and it can leave you hanging if you mess up lining up a dash. And then you're just kind of waiting for it to refill itself. This admittedly doesn't happen a lot, but it happens often enough to mention it. Carol is a wildcat and the main brawler. She can use her claws to slice at opponents, even doing a little charged version if you roll beforehand, and she can use her claws to scale up walls. Carol can't do a dash like Lilac, but she can use her bar to use this kick attack, which will probably be your main damage dealer and her only real defensive option since she's invincible while she does it. Yeah, Carol isn't as mobile as Lilac, and you can definitely feel this during boss fights as she's definitely taking a lot more hits than Lilac because she doesn't have an invincible dash or spin to move out of the way. So get used to using the kick as much as a shield as you do an attack. Though to keep up more with Lilac, Carol does have the option to use her motorcycle. Fuck the motorcycle. I swear this thing is more of a handicap than an actual power-up. Sure, the spin jump is great, but in every other way, it's just awful. And you know, it can help with the speed, but Carol still doesn't have the defensive options, so now I'm just a little closer to the boss while moving around like Carol is in an ice ring. I feel like 9 times out of the 10, I'm better off just not using the bike. It makes Carol just more of a pain to use, and you know, if maybe it gave her an extra couple of hits or something like that, then maybe I'd find it more useful, but it doesn't. And even if it was this awesome, useful, super thing, you don't get enough opportunities to use it, as after a couple hits, it's gone, and you need to find another gas can in the first place to even use it. So most of the time, I just opted to just skip out on the bike. Not only is it a pain to use, it's not in 90% of the game anyway, so why learn it at all? Though, she does have these dash panels in like 4 sections. Then we have Mila, a dog with hair that uses alchemy. Yeah, she reminded me of that too, but I didn't watch the show, so no comment. Mila uses her alchemy skills to craft blocks and shields and then use them as projectiles. Use them to reflect enemy fire back at them, or just combine them to make a powerful BEAM! What, is that not what everyone else calls it? She also can do this cool flutter jump and has a digging ability that can help her find items. All of Mila's abilities are pretty cool, but in a fast-paced, action-heavy game like Freedom Planet, Mila just can't compete with Lilac and Carol, and that absolutely pathetic health bar isn't helping matters at all. Now, for this video I actually purchased the Steam version of Freedom Planet, as I had heard that there was another player character in Torque included in the Steam version. But after beating the game, I couldn't figure out how to play him. And it comes to find out that Torque is only available in the beta version, which thankfully you can still download through Steam. And after trying him out, I'm sad that he didn't make it to the full game. Torque's gameplay may be the best out of the 4. Sure, he has a similar problem to Mila with the lack of speed, and his hover boots are nowhere near as good as her jump. But the amount of weapons and options you have is fantastic. Oh, and check this out, the ammunition he uses for all his weapons are the elemental orbs, the same things he uses for his ship. That's really cool. And he wasn't the only cut character, as if you look through the game by hacking or just looking up pictures from during development, you can see that Shade would have been a player character as well. We'll get to him. But it's a good thing that I bought the Steam version, because I discovered that Mila has a fully fledged story mode here. In the Wii U version, she didn't have that. You can only play as her in classic mode, which is just story mode without the cutscenes, and time attack. I guess I don't really have to explain time attack. But no, here she gets a full story that by the end goes into like an alternate telling where instead of Mila getting hurt by Brevin, it's Carol. And I was thinking, oh yeah, we're gonna get John Wick Mila. And she's gonna go through her edgy villain arc, concluding with putting a cube in Brevin's mouth and going BEAM! But no, she doesn't even get to fight Brevin fully, though it is cool to play through some sections from her perspective. Probably could have put her exclusive stage after she escapes the castle. I just think it would have fit better there, especially since they use the same sprite palette, but otherwise Mila's stuff is cool, though I wish Mila Slayer was a real thing. I also wish I didn't have to fight Spade again, and yeah, it's time to get into that. Freedom Planet's difficulty is weird. The main stages themselves aren't really all that difficult, save for these two jerks who either don't give enough warning for their fire, or just refuse to stay down. That's gotta be against the law on 2D platformers, right? But otherwise, they're not bad, and Freedom Planet actually does something that was pretty groundbreaking for 2D platformers. The enemies themselves don't hurt you, it's their attacks that do. Meaning that basically when you make contact with an enemy, it doesn't hurt you, but if they shoot you, spike you, flame you, or something, that hurts you. I know that doesn't sound very crazy, but it makes a noticeable difference to how you play the game, giving you more opportunity to react to the enemies as you speed along, for the most part. But when it comes to the boss battles, Freedom Planet really takes the gloves off to make these very challenging and fun encounters most of the time. I think as the game goes on, bosses obviously get harder and harder, right? You know, that's understandable. What's not understandable is when a boss is super hard and it takes longer to beat than it does to beat the stage. Like, I get memorizing boss patterns and all that stuff, and I did learn them all, but man, was I about ready to pull my hair out sometimes. I can deal with erratic patterns and heavy damage, but don't make it over 5 minutes long. I got stuff to do, man, and when it becomes a real issue is when you die to one of them. Now, thankfully lives and continues are only a formality. They don't impact anything other than an achievement, and the checkpoints are generous. But man, when I'm on my third try on a boss and I notice the timer says 20 minutes after spending 2 getting through the stage, it's like, come on, man. Now, as I said, I did learn and I did eventually get to the point where most of these guys, I could beat them on a first attempt. They're not that bad. But some of these guys need their health bar cut in 2. And don't get me started on Spade. This fight takes forever, and it's impossible to hit him since he dashes everywhere, and then when you do get a chance, you get a face full of exploding cards that dwindles your health. Your best option is to dash back and forth on these dash panels as Carol, or in Mila's case, just get really good at blocking, and then just waiting, and waiting, and waiting, and waiting for an opening. Lilac fights him too, but it's a lot simpler since his health bar is just a quarter of what he has in this fight. Yeah, the one with the best moveset for Spade gets the shorter fight. That's just backwards. I really wish this game had some sort of parry or dodge system similar to Spark the Electric Jester, a game that came out after Freedom Planet and was actually a bit inspired from Freedom Planet from what I've heard. Though maybe that system is a bit too forgiving. I guess a lot of my issues could be resolved by just lowering the difficulty, but it's not the damage and the erratic patterns that I have a problem with, it's with how much pain these jerks can take. I really don't think it's possible to beat this game on normal or hard as Mila. That just sounds impossible. Though, while I'm on the subject, be sure to play games on whatever difficulty you want. I hear a lot of people talk about only playing things the developer intended way. If it's in the game, it's the developer's intention. I don't get people who harp on that kind of stuff. Though that being said, try to stay off of casual mode. It's just a meaning, really. But anyways, Freedom Planet is really good. I have issues, sure, but I do with everything, and honestly, I had so much fun going back to play this classic that I haven't really played since I was a kid. Oh, and did I mention the tank level? It's honestly just okay, but it was what made me realize how much I love these in video games. If you're a fan of 2D platformers, then definitely give Freedom Planet a try, and be on the lookout for the sequel coming out soon. I know I'm excited, especially as the demo has led me to believe that they pretty much fixed all of my issues with the original, We got a dodge button, Carol is not limited by the bike anymore, and Mila has her own full health bar. Everybody has a new variety of moves to use, and even custom difficulty options. Oh, it's perfect. I can't wait for this game. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you back to another episode of What's That Catchphrase? Today's guest is an avian after my own heart, Bird Guard. It's great to see you, buddy. Now tell us, Mr. Guard, what's your catchphrase? You're damn right it is. Now most of you at home already know his catchphrase, but on this show we go a little deeper to find the true meaning of a catchphrase. So today I brought in an expert on bird speak to really break down... Wait, what? What do you mean you're not repeating that? Well, what does it mean? Oh my gosh, it means... He's just been saying that the whole time? I let you say that around my kids, man. My kids go around saying that because of you. They look up to you. What the... Man, is that the beak your mother spat in as a child? What are you, proud of yourself? You disgusting... Quack. No. Quack. Don't you dare. Cut to commercial, cut to commercial.
Did you know that the average adult has 5 to 20 pounds of toxic poop in their body?
Quack!